The dictatorship is still there. I mean, the secret police is still there. The party of the dictatorship is still there.
Praying for peaceful times. Rashid Ghannouchi was also exiled under Ben Ali, with many members of his Islamic Ennahda movement imprisoned or tortured. He says the new government isn't legitimate. His party and many other opposition groups have been shut out of the political process.
The
people must protect their revolution if they value the achievement of toppling the dictator. The blood of the martyrs is in their hands, and not all their goals have been achieved. The street must be ready. The genuine opposition must come together to build on a common vision.
This is the man who could unite the opposition. Najib Chebi lived through Ben Ali's regime. Just a month ago, addressing his supporters like this would have been impossible. Now he has a real chance of becoming Tunisia's next president.
Don't have the right to fail. You know, Tunisia is now mature to establish a democratic regime and to begin real and just development.
The headquarters of the former ruling party, the RCD, has now been dismantled. Big questions still remain over whether there has been a break with the past. A promised investigation into corruption and human rights abuses has been criticised as slow and inefficient, and nobody knows when there's going to be a free and fair election. The opposition says it wants more time to prepare for those elections. Tunisia is now in uncharted territory. Building a new democratic nation is not going to be easy. Nazanin Moshiri, Al Jazeera, Tunis.
Do stay with Al Jazeera. Still ahead this half hour. Cutting communications, how one company in California may have helped take Egypt offline. And it's game over for now. The Pakistani cricketers found guilty of bowling to lose.
Hello again. Well, in Sri Lanka, it's still raining very, very heavily. We have had more reports of yet more flooding in the past couple of days, and you can see why. This is the storm system that's given us our torrential downpours, and it's going nowhere in a great hurry either. So over the next few days, then, it's going to stay very, very wet, particularly for the central and eastern parts. Further north, and for most of us across India, it's fine and dry and actually pretty warm at the moment, 29 there in New Delhi for Sunday. But more in the way of cloud and rain just rolling its way across the northern parts of Pakistan and into the northern parts of India, and that will also be giving us a fair amount of snow at times too. Now here in Doha, the winds are back with us as we head through the next few days, so a blustery day, dusty at times, and it won't be that warm either. A top temperature in Doha of 22, and then on Sunday night I think we'll drop all the way down to around 14. For the southern parts of Africa, here it's very unsettled, as it has been over the past couple of days. Yet more wet weather still on the cards for most of us as we head through Sunday. Does look like Cape Town should get away with a dry day there, and it will be pretty warm as well, if not hot, all the way up at 33 degrees. Now for Brazil, it's in the northeast where we've seen the heaviest and most persistent rains recently, but also we're now seeing some bright white cloud there across Peru. More heavy downpours are still to come here as we head through the day on Sunday.
From local traders to international finance, it's commerce that makes the world go round. For global companies and developing markets, communication is the currency, and information is the most valuable commodity. Counting the cost at this time on Al Jazeera.
Now there's one place to discover the whole story. aljazeera.net/English.
We bring you the stories from every side and every angle. aljazeera.net/English.
Hello again, you're watching Al Jazeera, a reminder of the main developments in Egypt as protests enter their 13th day. Banned opposition party, the Muslim Brotherhood, says it's joining government talks aimed at ending the crisis. The group had previously rejected all dialogue until President Mubarak stepped down. Meanwhile, Hosni Mubarak's son Gamal and the other leaders of the ruling National Democratic Party have resigned. The party's new Secretary-General, Hassan Badrawi, is reported to have good relations with opposition figures. And there have been mixed messages coming out of the United States. The State Department has distanced itself from comments made by US envoy Frank Wisner, who's backed Mubarak's plan to stay in power until September. Now, the internet has been a central forum for discussion and dissent in Egypt, but there was a near total blackout when the uprising began nearly 2 weeks ago. And an American advocacy group says it's uncovered a link to a California-based technology company. Rob Reynolds explains.
When Egyptian authorities shut down internet access in an effort to stifle growing anti-government protests, their actions were condemned worldwide, including by U.S. President Barack Obama. But a U.S. company is working with Egypt's state telecommunications agency, selling its sophisticated tools for spying and controlling web users. Naris, located in Sunnyvale, California, provided Telecom Egypt with a monitoring tool called Deep Packet Inspection. Tim Carr heads the media reform organization Free Press.
Deep Packet Inspection sits on routers around internet networks, and it allows them to sift through, to filter, to surveil internet communications.
DPI permits governments to know which of its citizens is posting criticisms or organizing protests through Twitter and Facebook. It can also track cell phone users.
With some cell phone systems, you can actually geolocate the person that is tweeting via their cell phone, for example, and track them down. So it has various dangerous applications.
Naris, which is owned by the aircraft maker and weapons contractor Boeing, refused to return Al Jazeera's calls and emails. So we went to see them in person.
Rob Reynolds, I'm a reporter with Al Jazeera English. I'm here to see if I could speak to executives about your sales of technology to Egypt.
Only thing to say is no comment. Nobody is talking to the media.
The secretive company has also sold technology to Saudi Telecom, Kuwaiti Wataniya Telecom, and India's largest broadband provider, Sci-Fi. Internet spying is generally illegal in the U.S. Naris is one of several companies that sell internet tracking and spying technology. But there are no laws or regulations to govern the use and sale of these powerful tools. Carr says more transparency and oversight are needed.
We've been calling for a more thorough investigation of the uses and abuses of this technology. We hope here in the United States that Congress will investigate.
For now, though, protesters and critics of governments around the world should know Big Brother is watching. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Sunnyvale, California.
And here's some other news from around the world. Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to a second ceasefire in as many days after renewed fighting in a disputed border region. Cambodian soldiers and Thai forces exchanged gunfire near a contested 900-year-old temple. One Thai soldier died in that exchange. 3 other soldiers and a civilian were killed in violence on Friday. At least 5 people have died in Sri Lanka after widespread flooding caused by days of torrential rain. Hundreds of thousands have been affected, and the country's disaster management centre is struggling to cope. Manil Fernandez reports from Colombo.
The waters raged once again, sweeping everything in their path. Worst hit was the north-central province. Swollen irrigation tanks breaching their banks. One reported to have unleashed around 55,000 cubic acres of water. Many villagers were cut off by the floodwater, boats their only hope. Over 1 million people have been affected, and more than 230,000 have been forced to leave their homes for temporary shelters. In the Central Highlands, authorities issued a landslide alert and declared a state of emergency in some areas.
Our kitchen was buried by a landslide at the back of the house.
It wasn't just people facing hardships. This baby elephant was among the wildlife caught by rising waters. The military and police are helping with the rescue and relief efforts. But despite the devastation, there were some moments of hope. This baby born on a helicopter as her mother was flown to safety. In Colombo, charities are trying to gather food and clothing to send to victims. But they face a major problem delivering this aid, as many roads are impassable.
Emergency supplies and food stocks are being loaded up behind me to be taken to the hundreds of thousands of people affected by this latest round of flooding. But it'll take a whole lot more for those affected by this latest disaster to get on their feet again. Minel Fernandez, Al Jazeera, Colombo.
Australia continues to feel the effects of one of the biggest ever cyclones